Going to the middle of page 4, Disciplinary matter, Medora LLC, doing business as Curry and Walk, Balvin Pathak Manager, holder of a common vittler license and entertainment license at 2378 Mass Ave, due to a report received from the Cambridge Fire Department.
See if there was anybody else here from.
Gentlemen, you can't stand in the doorway.
Are you here for Curry and Walk?
Yes.
Have a seat, stand, however we can get you at the table, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
If you could please state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name, please.
Pamela Matthews, P-R-E-M-I-L-A.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
If you could please
P-R-E.
P-R-E?
Matthews, P-R-E-M-I-L-A. Last name is Matthews, M-A-T-H-E-W-S.
and with you.
First name is Falgun, F-A-L-G-U-N. Last name is Pathak, P-A-T-H-A-K.
Also, Attorney Sean Hope, S-E-A-N-H-O-P-E, on behalf of Curry and Walk.
And also,
Captain Tom Cahill, C-A-H-I-L-L, Fire Department.
so Captain, I'd like to start with you, please.
I had gone to Curry and Walk on July 14th of this year to do an inspection of the premises. When I arrived that morning, I had found that there were two egresses that were blocked. One of them is going up the rear stairs to enter to the exterior of the building. And the other one is a door that's a common exit from 2380 Mass Ave. So in the event of an emergency at 2380, they would not have been able to open that door. And if they were able to open that door, then they would have been faced with the blocked egress to get them to the outside of the building. I did take a picture, at least of those stairs that you physically couldn't walk through because of what was stuck on the stairs. In addition to the blocked egresses, there had been a fire at the restaurant on September 27th of 2014. We had 8 fire trucks who responded. It was what we call all companies were working, which means everybody in all 8 trucks were working. It was a significant fire. Part of what the extinction was ventilating through a skylight in the roof. The glass was broken out of the skylight. There was a piece of glass that was remaining. That glass was just hanging from the skylight when I was there on this inspection on July 14th. The pull stations for the ANSLs, for the suppression system, for the cooking equipment were blocked. There was no access to get to those. I told Ms. Matthews that I would be back shortly after to get those items addressed, and I left. I went back a few hours later. The glass was still in place, the ANSLs were still blocked, and the rear egress had been cleaned up a little bit, but she had told me that somebody from another department told her that everything was okay. As I was leaving, I noticed that the fire alarm was disconnected. There was no power to the fire alarm. I pulled the pull station, nothing was activated. I told her that she'd have to shut the restaurant down until it was resolved. She told me that it would be taken care of the next day. I went back the next day at approximately the same time, and I found that the restaurant was open for business, the fire alarm was still not functioning, the red beacon on the front of the building, which is an indicator that there's an alarm going off and a potential emergency, was activated, and what we call a trouble alarm was in alarm. So when you walk in, you hear this audible alarm indicating a problem with the fire alarm. She told me that that the system was functioning, that they were going to come back and fix this later on. I tested the system again, it still did not work. I expressed to her my concern because we've had 4 fires at this address in the course of 13 months. She disputed the fact that she had anything to do with the first 2 fires, that she wasn't the owner at the time, which contradicted what we had found online. There was a number of invitations to their grand opening on August 19th of 2014, which, it specifically mentions her. And I brought copies of this also. I highlighted her name and the date. And this was after she had said that she had nothing to do with the fire on August 19th of 2014. So what she was telling me and what we had for information really contradicted itself. She was upset that she was shut down. I told her that she could not reopen at this point until the system was functioning properly, that there was an inspection by the fire department. She needed the fire alarm company, she needed the Ansel company, she needed all the entities needed to make sure that she had a functioning system. That lasted for approximately 14 days until she was able to get that done. We scheduled a couple of different inspections. They got postponed. She wasn't ready for us. We scheduled an inspection for July 28th for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I arrived at 1 o'clock. The alarm company was there. They had been there since 11:30. Nobody showed up to let them in. Miss Matthews showed up at the same time that I did. There was a little bit of a disagreement between myself and Miss Matthews. She was very frustrated that I had shut her down. In an effort to be as accommodating as I could, I told the alarm company that I would stay. If they could get this problem resolved within an hour, that I would stay. I waited the hour. We were able to conduct the test, and it passed. So as of July 28th, she has been open. I did return one other time. The egresses have remained cleared. She did have the items that needed to be addressed. Unfortunately, it took a series of inspections and multiple violations. She was cited on the original day for failure to abate the dangerous and hazardous conditions, specifically the hanging glass from the skylight, which is located above the seating area and the dining area, and failure to maintain the unobstructed egress. When I came back the second day, which was July 15th, and found that she was open after she had ordered to stay closed until the system was functioning, she was cited again on failure to follow orders to eliminate dangerous and hazardous conditions. So she's been cited for 3 separate violations on 2 different citations. I would ask the Commission to consider the struggles we've had in trying to maintain a safe establishment. There's a history of at least 3 out of the 4 fires within 12 months where Ms. Matthews has been the responsible party, and nothing seems to change. The egress issue, I would expect to be back to where it was once we leave here this evening. That's been a very consistent pattern.
Thank you. I also note that, if I'm understanding what was just passed, the inspectional services had concern concerns as well. There was a citation written by inspectional services as well, is that correct?
Correct.
That was for, let's see, violation, frequently covered clean, vermin-proof, hot and cold holding, equipment thermometers and pressure gauge, hand cleanser, hand drying, toilet tissue, signage, insects, rodents,
Sure, I can't hear. I
Sorry.
have a fan right over
sorry,
me.
insects, rodents, animals, outer openings, permit to operate, food protection, storage, display, transportation, hot and cold holding, walls, ceiling, attached equipment, constructed, cleaning, wiping cloths, sanitized, use restricted. So it seems as though inspectional services had a number of issues as well with this establishment. This was a date of inspection on August 6, 2015, and it was to remove the full dumpster within 24 hours. This was dated, signed by Sanitary Inspector Kristen Fernandez from Inspectional Services.
It hasn't, to my knowledge, it hasn't been removed.
It has not been removed? So Council, I'll give you the opportunity if you'd like to respond.
Well, I think Mrs. Matthews can respond to her interaction with Captain Cahill. But I do have a question of clarification. The inspectional services violations, I just asked Mrs. Matthews, she said that she didn't receive copies of those notices.
This only happened a couple of days ago.
The only way that I've received notice of these violations have been along with the memo that was issued by the License Commission. And Mrs. Matthews can speak to this, but I also believe that the sanitary department for the inspectional services actually came to the restaurant and it said in the last 2 weeks had came and did an inspection. Is that good?
Yes, so I'm starting with Mr. Captain Kevin. I'm not aware of the fire that 819. So I would like to have a report on that, if you don't mind, please.
You're not aware of the fire on?
819.
What about the other three, Mr. Matthews?
The other three is 619, I was not there. And the 927, it was a grease fire, that's fine.
How many fires do you think you have to be significant?
I just started to talk about two. The first one is
How many fires do you think you have for it to become significant?
civil fires.
Correct, thank you.
I think you were trying to walk through the incidents of the fires. I think it would be helpful for the commission to
Counsel,
talk about.
if you want
Sorry.
to speak, you
I
have
think it
to.
would be helpful for Mrs. Matthews to actually talk about the specific incidences as we talked about and explain what happened at those fires because they all weren't the same and I don't want them to be painted with a broad brush. So do you want to start with the
Yes, the fire on 927, that's the time, the 2 days ago I took off the restaurant and it was a grease fire. So, and we corrected that was a fire and I didn't understand, maybe I misunderstood. Captain Cahill, when he walked in, he didn't mention about the glass hanging over there. The glass was broken by the fire department on the roof. It was not because of the fire, we let the air go out. So we hired a company to clean, the Australian company to clean out the entire place and we paid $15,000. So I was not aware of this glass thing, Mr. Captain Cahill didn't mention about that.
I guess I have to ask some of these questions.
Yes.
So you don't think a piece of glass hanging over your establishment that's broken is something that you
It
should
was
take care
very
of?
tall and it was small glass, so I hired a company to take care of the professional company. So I'm sorry, I was not aware of that as a big issue.
I mean, it's your establishment, you're in there every day.
No, I agree that now
Okay.
because it was came in an issue and I took it, but Captain Cahill didn't mention about that even when he walked in there. I heard it from the city. When I called here, they said these are the complaints was made, but I didn't get directly from Captain Cahill. The second fire was pilot malfunctioning. So nobody set up the fire or anything, and I called because it was a fire that this happened because of the equipment fault. So I called the fire
Chair, I
department.
can't hear her. Can we switch and have her closer to me?
Sure.
Ms. Matthews, the last thing I have from you, I called because it was a fire.
Yeah, it's the equipment malfunctioning. I called the fire department myself to make sure that there's nothing wrong with that. So they came, stopped by, and the other people say there's something wrong with they don't think it's a fire, because I wanted to make sure it's a gas and fire is all set, because it's a strip of building. So they say it's not a fire, it's just all fine. Just call repair the fire grid.
Gas valve?
Gas.
And who said that, I'm sorry?
Repair the gas valve. Because nobody set the fire, it was just the.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, and then Captain Kingley, so these fires, you got the record of the fire, only 2 fires I'm aware of, the 819, I'm not. I was supposed to open the restaurant, and unfortunately, when I came in to open the restaurant as I was planned and published in the newspapers, I was unable to, as Ms. Lind had some problem with my permits. So still, restaurant was not functioning under my name or under my so I had a hearing on the 24th of last month, and I was unable to have the hearing because they cancelled the due to this complaint we had. And when Captain Cahill walked in, I was not there, and my employee was there, and the complaint that he got is the egress and the fire alarm. So I called the fire alarm people that day itself. That day around 3 o'clock, Mr. Durant, the building inspector, came by, and I did clear out the egress, and he had checked that, and he said that it was open 16 inches, should open 22 inches. So he said that as far as I opened that, I'm fine to go, because I cleaned up the place. Not like Mr. Cahill said, it was not need to be wide open, or he mentioned the inches, approximately something like that. I had to open a little more. And also Mr. Durant says, I am not shut down. I can open the restaurant. If the restaurant was shut down, they wouldn't have called him to come and open the check out.
So you didn't think you were shut down?
There's no writing, because I spoke to Captain Cahill on the phone, so he would have said something, but it's a miscommunication, I was not.
So when were you aware that you were actually shut down?
When that day evening, I called the fire alarm people, and they came, set up my fire alarm. Then Captain Cahill walked in there, and he didn't walk in. He actually came. I called and left a message, long message. I called him and asked him. It's on a Friday, I believe. I can't remember the date. I called and asked him. If everything is okay, I fixed the system. Whether he's coming for the inspection, and whether I can open the restaurant. So I didn't, because in my knowledge, according to my knowledge, I'm sorry to say that, I was waiting to hear from until 5 p.m. because I think these are the normal regular working hours. It's not like hospitality. I never heard from him. I left a long message saying I want to leave him another message. I would like to hear from him. I didn't hear from him at all. So he walked in around 6 o'clock, 5:30. I just opened the restaurant. He walked in and said he was running by, and he saw this red light was going on, which for me, when it's a fire alarm, the siren has to go. So there was no fire siren. The people who checked my alarm system is all fixed up, they said. So I left a message saying it's fixed up. Can I open the restaurant? He never responded. I opened the restaurant at 5:30. As I spoke to the city, I was not closed. So he came in and he said that I was shut down because he wanted me to shut down, so I didn't obey his rule, so he shut me down. So then I asked, and then he said that fire alarm was going on, he was very unhappy and he raised his voice. And I told him, I came out, I called the fire alarm people, they said no, it's all set. So I was not sure what exactly in fire term was going on there. Because I'm not a professional in the fire alarm people, I'm only a restaurant person. So he shut me down, then I was looking for him, I called because he was off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So then we tried to get all the fire, Captain Hagel said the answer system is not hooked up to the fire alarm system later on Tuesday, I believe. And then the people who came to hook up my fire system, CDK, answer system people, they broke my plumbing valve. So then they had to call the plumbing people and they had to hire a plumber to fix the problem. So it took another week to get the plumber and everybody to get together. During all these inspections, Captain Hagel said he's coming. I had to call the fire alarm people, electric people, all the people should be there, he said, and a couple of times they all came in, I had to pay everyone to be there because they were squeezing in there because I wanted to open the restaurant. I came to the city and I asked them, I don't want to be shut down, and I asked a couple of times and they said no, because that time only I came to know Captain Hagel complained to the Board of Health and other people. He never mentioned anything to me that I'm not allowed to open. He didn't mention why did he shut down. He only told me he shut down because of the fire. I went to the fire department and I tried to reach out to him. It was an emergency fire. Also, then I asked people because it's not good for me to close the restaurant. And then one of the fire officers said that even if Captain Hagel is not there are 5 other people, they can come and check the restaurant and open the restaurant. But we left messages, and also the plumbing people and the CDK, the fire exit system left messages, nobody showed up, nobody responded. So, but they said they are going to come back on Friday to check, nobody came out. So all these people we called, the phone company and the fire alarm people, they all came together because that was, I was told to be there. It's very frustrating, nobody showed up as they mentioned. But they didn't fix the time, they said they would be able to, nobody showed up as they mentioned to the answer system. So then the last time, Mr. Cahill showed up and it was really frustrating, nobody was there, nobody was going to come. Fire system or anybody, only the plumbing, not even the plumbing guy, the answer system guy was there.
I'm not sure that there was much true to what was just said, and I can't go back point by point. The only argument I will make is that this occurred on 7/14. On 7/28, when I arrived at 1300 in the afternoon, and Ms. Matthews hadn't been there at 11:30 to let the contractors in, this system still was not functioning from 7/14 to 7/28. So for Ms. Matthews to say that she had scheduled inspections for me to come out there to sign off on this doesn't seem like it holds much truth if even on 7/28 when I was there, the system was not a functioning system. And I waited 60 minutes with her contractor, who I had been in constant contact with throughout this entire process, and I think you would find that if you spoke to the other agencies that she references, they're not going to agree with that story. Friday was my day off. She drove to a firehouse. She happened to run into a deputy chief that was working that day, who called me on my cell phone, and he made it very clear to her that she could not open the restaurant until I inspected. And this was on 7/17. So there's still 11 days after that until the system was functioning. I'm not sure I could go back to all of the different items that she mentioned, that she referenced, but I would dispute all of them.
And was she given a citation in the end?
The first day that I was there, she was not there, and I had explained to a gentleman named Carthy, he wrote his last name, and he told me that the owner was Falcon Papa. He didn't mention Miss Matthews on the first day. So I ran down the list of items, and she is correct that the citation only addresses 2 or 3 of these items, because there were 7, 8, 9 violations that had taken place at this place between the glass, between the Ansel system. There were too many violations. What I did was I picked the most significant ones, but myself and Mr. Paul McCarthy, we went over each one of these line by line, and he was fully aware of them. He signed off on it. And then the second day, when I went back, where she says that somebody told her that she could open and that the fire alarm was functioning, she was issued that citation. I'm just confused. I'm confused at how you operate a business with an alarm sounding, with a beacon sounding. And the problem that I had since, going back to one of the original 3 fires that where she was the owner of the establishment, is that the blame gets pushed to the person that's not there. So for instance, the fire alarm company's not here tonight, so she's going to say that they called me. And that's a constant problem that I had every time I went into this establishment, and she would say, well, this person called you and you must not have called them back. And I'm really not sure what else to say other than very little of what you just said has any truth to it, and can't be supported by much.
So, we had 3 fires since you've been there.
Chief, if I may, she's saying that she was the owner as of, I'm sorry, bear with me, that she was the owner as of August 19th, 2014. So there was a small cooking fire on August 19th, 2014. That coincides with the article that I sent out, which is one of many, that establishment opened. It references owner Pramila Matthews is opening a new restaurant on this very night, quote, and that's the night of the first fire when she was the quote-unquote owner. The second fire was a significant fire. And yes, the fire department did ventilate the skylight, but they ventilated the skylight because there was a fire. I don't believe there's any confusion with that. The third fire, Miss Matthews herself suffered burns. I received calls because she had singed eyebrows and first-degree burns to her face trying to extinguish the fire. She did refuse medical treatment, but I did receive a call that there was a burn victim that night. Whether she made the phone call or whether it went through Central Station is beside the point. There were 3 fire events at this building since she's taken over on August 19th, 2014.
So all 3 of these seem to be hood-related, grease-related type fires.
Like I mentioned, I don't know whether you understood, I didn't say it's grease fire. The second one, again, I am claiming the first fire, I'm not aware of that, so I would like to take a look at the report, then I can answer you that question. And the second fire, I say it's a grease fire, the third fire is malfunctioning of fire truck.
Of the fire lighter?
Yeah, no, not the fire ranger.
Gas valve?
Gas valve. Because that's the fire department came and because I called them and I told them, I called 911. I didn't call the fire department or anyone, I called them 911.
The 911 is the fire department.
The only fire department, police came, everybody came.
So after you had these accidents and stuff, you still have egresses blocked?
It's all clean,
It's clean now.
yes.
It wasn't clean when they did the inspection.
It was not open as you expected.
The opening needs to be 32 inches minimum. 16 inches doesn't make it. It was not.
So it's clean now.
Okay. I mean, the job of us is not to go and close people down. The job is to make sure that everyone who goes into these establishments is dealing with a safe level of safety in there. And that's our concern. And we don't take any joy in closing anyone down. But at the same time, under the law, we need to enforce the laws, and that's the job we're dealt. And sometimes it's not pleasant. But it would seem if you had several minor fires, or even if you had a significant one in November, that you would be extra cautious as a operator to make sure that your spot is spotless, because you've already had a fire. And obviously, you didn't take that charge very well, because we have the same situations again.
Are you referring to the 3 fire again, or you are referring to?
Let's go with one fire. Let's go with November only.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
after you have a fire and stuff, that you should be fully aware of what the hazards are, and that things like egresses and sanitation and keeping the place clean should be your job number one, because you've already had an incident. And to find that you didn't do that and get caught again because of this license issue, it's disheartening that you didn't take that serious enough, that you keep these egresses and everything clean. It's your responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility.
Chief, if I might, I just want to add in. So I think we're talking about multiple fires, and when we came in here, I think we're not missing the seriousness of the fires and having access and egress being clear. But the 3 fires, whether they're 2 or 3, they weren't all due to any reported negligence by the operator. It sounds like in July 2014.
Council, I'm not even pointing the finger at negligence right now. The fact that you have a situation in your establishment should raise your heightened awareness of what's going on around you, even if it's your fault or not fault. And I'm not pointing my fingers and saying this is the fault of negligence. I've never said that.
No,
but
the point I was trying to make is that it doesn't sound like all the fires were a result of the same issue that wasn't attended to. There was a gas valve issue. There was an issue with the venting that Captain Cahill reported. But I just want to make the point that these weren't three issues of the same type of issue. In July 2014.
With all due respect, Councilor, I mean, I don't think if we had to raise a hand here, there's going to be anyone in this room who could say, I've had 3 fires in my house.
I understand. I mean, I do think this is a restaurant, and I do think Captain Cahill did a very good job of reporting the issues that were causing the most recent fires. I'd also like to make the point that all those issues have been now rectified. The fact that they weren't done at the appropriate time, I think Ms. Pramila, we talked to Ms. Matthews, that there were issue mitigating circumstances where we take responsibility as an operator to be able to handle those. I just wanted to make the point, though, that this wasn't the same consistent issue that was intentionally or even inadvertently ignored.
Let me ask you a question, Council. So after you have a significant fire in November, to go back several months later and find egresses blocked and so forth, do you think that's significant?
I think it's significant, and I think that the violation addresses that, and I think we've made changes to the
Our goal here is to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, and that that's why we have to do this. This is the public has a right to have a safe environment, and that's what we need to do. And to find someone has regressed after having a significant event, we'll call it, and still having to be reminded, cited again down the road is disheartening. And it gives me rise to whether or not this person should be an operator. How many chances do we give them?
I would just, the September 2014, there wasn't a citation. There was a fire, but there wasn't a citation. From the record, it looks like there was a citation.
Well, the thing is this, is that we don't take joy in writing citations. We could have written citations after that fire. The idea is you had a fire, someone's already suffered significant loss. We want them to get on the straight and narrow, get open, be successful, be safe. The idea is not to impose fines and impunity on someone who's already just had, a financial loss, and that's not the goal. So, could she have been cited back then? Absolutely. But, that's not the goal here, is to enforce a fine on someone. We just want people to do the right thing and make things safe.
Excuse me, I have a question. When you say operator, what do you mean by operator? So I was operating, and while I'm operating, the fire happened, you think?
If you're the licensee, if you're the owner, you are responsible whether you're there or not. It's your establishment. You're responsible. Your employees and you are responsible.
Yeah, you want to leave? Sure.
there any members of the public that wish to be heard in this matter? Seeing none. Captain, how long were they closed? How many days?
They were closed about 14, 15 days. They were closed on the 14th. They opened on the 15th when they should have opened, and they were closed again until the 28th.
Due to the seriousness of the allegations, I'd like to make a motion that we issue a 7-day suspension, 5 days of which we consider time served, and 2 days to hold in abeyance, that if there is a similar issue with the fire department, you will be closed for the additional 2 days. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
How long did they close in abeyance?
5 days time served, 2 days in abeyance.
No, for how long? 2 days.
6 months.
Madam Chair, just a point of clarification.
The one thing, the last thing I just need to say, when the captain taken care for the final inspection, he asked for a testing. So the alarm people, they had to set up things for the testing. They were prepared, they were ready, but they needed time to set up things for setting. So it's not like they were not ready, the fire people. The
I didn't
system.
think I said anything about them.
I don't know, Captain Haley said that when he came in, they were final inspection, it was not ready. No, the people needed time to set up the system for testing. So they were ready.
I'd just like to clarify for the record, because I want to make sure it's clear. So as of the 28th, all the health and safety violations that were cited were cured. That was our understanding. I just want to make sure.
I mean, I would just say that there's 12 violations from ISD sanitation. I don't know whether or not those are all clear or not.
And to that point, were the violations that were cited by ISD, were those related from the fire department, or was that ISD Inspectional Services on their own? Because we received no copy of a citation, but from the License Commission from the Inspectional Services. And so it wasn't clear how ISD was able to make those determinations.
Obviously, it was an on-site inspection by an inspector, so I can't answer that.
And I only bring that up because Mrs. Matthews had said that the sanitary inspector that came out to the premises and said that there were no sanitary violations at that time. This is posted July 28th. And I just, that's our understanding. I just wanted to.
This inspection, I believe, says August 6th.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, and she said everything was fine. A couple of things she missed. I was not there. And we have the hand wash system in a different side and the paper napkins in a different side, so she didn't pay attention to that. So she said she will come back and take a look at that.
So you're all set for right now. Thank you, Captain.